Hello, welcome to the Ask Dr. Be Good podcast, where we bring you the positive things that are going on in public education. Today, we're going to be exploring IT, but in a different way. We've talked a lot about the internet safety, cyberbullying, and so we want to go deeper than that. We want to share with you, using our district experts, the many layers of infrastructure that it takes to bring our IT plan to work. Now, we are part of the New Tech Network, which means that we're a 100% project-based learning district, PBL district. But one of the things that's different with New Tech than, let's say, the Buck Institute PBL is that our secondary students put their projects online. Now, it's one thing to say that we're going to put our projects online, but what does that really mean? What that means is that all of our, at least secondary students, requires their own laptop. And we literally have now 1,000 secondary students. And when we add up the classroom computers that are in the lower grades and then the teacher computers, central staff computers, we're talking a lot of not only computers, but devices. And so to be able to wrap our brains around how a district like Legacy with about 1,400 students, 160 staff, how do we manage that? Who manages it? And how is that managed seamlessly so that our students are able to get online every day? So to bring that information to us, we're going to go around the room, introduce who's here, and then delve into the many layers that makes up our tech infrastructure at Legacy.
So my name is Staci Weaver, and I'm the Global Systems Director.
My name is Matthew Nielsen, and I am the Information Technology Supervisor.
My name is Ricardo Chavez. I'm the IT Campus Technician for the Mesquite campus.
So, Staci, talk to us a little bit about what your job encompasses and how what you have to do to direct to make sure that the IT department gets us seamless technology every day.
So my title kind of gives it away when it says global systems. It's kind of everything. So what my title really means is that I oversee and hire well, because I'm not the person that's hands-on. That's what Matthew does, and that's what Ricardo does. And they're really the experts in the field. I'm more oversee our business connections, our contracts, and making sure that we're in business with the people that are going to give us, because we're a school district and we have to be mindful of how we spend money. And so I seek out the best people for us to do business with, and right now that's what we're doing. Matt will explain more how we do that. So I seek out those partners for us. Matt does most of the technical work, and then Ricardo sees out what I would say is Matt's vision. So,
and then we also have somebody in Plano.
Absolutely. So we have Nicholas, who's in Plano. Somebody had to man the house while we were here, so we'll probably have Nick on another show. But yeah, so I oversee, let's say, the global systems, and then Matthew oversees the campuses. And Matthew and I work very closely together with Ricardo and Nick to make sure that all the infrastructure is in place, and that it is a seamless effort, that everything goes well for all of our systems and all of our scholars and our teachers and our staff.
So Matthew, start explaining in English the layers that makes up our infrastructure.
Okay, so starting out for the district, just student devices, just to put some numbers into your head, we have about 1,400 Windows laptops and about 500 iPads. That's just for student use. So to support that number of devices at one time, we have a very robust network infrastructure that we use. We have a MPLS connection that connects all of our campuses to one another. That's just a fancy network term of a physical topology that connects our different physical locations into one logical structure. We have an adaptive security appliance that helps us maintain a high level of network security. And that feeds into 10 different 48 port switches between the campuses, which are connecting about 78 wireless access points. Since most of our devices are connecting wirelessly to the network, having a lot of wireless access points is a really necessary thing. We use a lot of different relationships to maintain all of these different infrastructures. We contract with Sharp. They're what we call a managed service provider. We have a network specialist through them that is helping us maintain the configurations on all of the switches and the routers and the security appliances to make sure that everything stays up and running. As you said, we are a new tech network, and all of our secondary learning is very driven by the internet. So maintaining a very high level of uptime is a very important thing. And when we do have downtime, that's something that we have to make sure we can recover from. So from a district level, we have some of those support structures in place. There's kind of the phone a friend when something goes down and we can't deal with it in-house. Sharp handles a lot of that for us. A lot of this infrastructure is also very expensive, and so we use several different federal programs to help get assistance to fund the machine to keep it running. We use E-rates for that. We contract with a company to help us with E-rates, and they work closely with our internet service provider, which is Spectrum. And we're, constantly working with our Spectrum representatives and account executives through Spectrum to make sure that we're getting what we pay for and that we're in compliance with how these federal programs have to be in order for us to be eligible to receive funding. And that's something that's very important, because if we go out of compliance, that can affect our budget in a big way. And when you're dealing with all of this stuff, you're dealing with a lot of big numbers, and that can be really worrisome. But we also have other partnerships for some of our more application-based things. Like you said, NTN hosts a program called Echo, and that's what we call a learning management system. That's the system that's enabling not only students to post their work online, but for teachers to distribute resources and to digitally create assignments and post them online as well. And there's a lot of benefits to that. One huge benefit is that if a student is absent one day, the teacher doesn't have to worry about going back and reteaching. A lot of that information is present in the learning management system that the student can access from their home or from anywhere.
You're right. That's what you're inferring is the beginning of 21st century school. Already we have robots that one can check out from the service centers. If a child's going to be home for a homebound issue, broken leg, that requires the child to be home for 2 weeks, you can check out the robot, and the robot can be the Skyping partner to the school and the child. I mean, there's all sorts of things that are coming. I think we're at the very beginning of it, but you're right. Now we're to the point where our parents can be online, the kids can be online. Mm-hmm. There's no reason not to have everyone informed who wants to be informed about what's going on at school.
And that's definitely something that's very supported by this sort of first layer in the network infrastructure that we offer. That's allowing everybody to connect to one another, and that's of vital importance in the digital learning environment, 21st century learning, and kind of the next level down in these layers is the structures that we have in place for centralized management of these devices. We have the student goes into a classroom and picks up an iPad, and that iPad has apps on it that they need to log into, and there's a lot that goes into kind of making that magic happen, so the teachers aren't having to spend a lot of time managing their devices. They can spend a lot more time learning and helping the kids with those devices. So between the 3 locations that we have 6 different Windows servers that hosts our Windows domain, which gives us access to Active Directory and group policy, which is a huge asset in providing centralized management for our Windows devices. You know, I know you mentioned we have Nicholas over on the Plano campus, Ricardo on the Mesquite campus, and then myself, and I kind of get to bounce back and forth wherever I'm needed. But that's 3 of us for the 1,500 plus devices that we talked about. So when we have something come out like, online testing is done through application distributed by the state of Texas, and when they come out with an update, it's just not really feasible or smart from a time management perspective for us to have to go around and put our hands on every single device to update that software. Having everything connected to our Windows domain and using group policy to manage some of that stuff helps us automate a lot of that. And instead of having to go classroom to classroom, device to device, we can just send out an email and tell the teachers, hey, have your kids restart the computers at the end of the day. And when they restart, the magic happens and everything updates and it's all good to go for them the next day. So without some of those tools, our job would be very labor intensive. And, that's for the Windows servers managing the Windows devices. For our 500 iPads, we also have what's called a mobile device management application. It's a similar platform in terms of it lets us centrally manage all of the iPads. They connect to the server, and from there they can pull new apps that we want to add to them. We have a managed store, so we have some classrooms that want certain apps and some classrooms that don't want those apps. And so on some of those, we let the teachers kind of pick and choose what they can put on their classroom sets. But then we also have apps that we want on every iPad. And so it lets us differentiate a lot based on groups. And it also helps us to maintain the restriction profiles, because that's a huge part of our job as well, is making sure that not only can the kids use the devices effectively, but safely as well. And putting restrictions in place on the iPads and on the Windows computers is something we also are legally obligated to do through the Child Internet Protection Act. So, we have built in with our security appliance, we have web content filtering that prevents students from accessing certain websites, and we can monitor them. We have monitoring systems installed on the computers that the teachers have access to as well. And, we can see in real time what they're doing and respond accordingly. So, the internet is a big place, and kids are very inquisitive, and they're constantly searching for new websites to access content that we might not want them to access. So having those real-time monitoring systems in place is a huge asset to us as well, so that we can respond to those adapting needs of the restrictions in the classroom.
Yeah, we also have Landmark?
Yeah, Land School.
Land School, where it allows a teacher to know from their device what every student in the classroom is looking at.
Mm-hmm.
And that's imperative. One of the things that we have to help not only kids, but our staff understand that the internet at work is never yours. It's not yours to do with what you want. It's not yours to go where you want. And at any time, we can go in and see what you're doing. Matter of fact, what do I do when I have a problem with my computer? I text Matt, and he can remotely access from wherever he is. I'm old enough that that's still magic, that he can, from wherever he is, somehow get into my computer and fix whatever it is, whatever click that I'm missing. That just fascinates me.
Yep.
But now our kids are feeling that transparency or lack of invisibility. It is imperative that everybody at work, kids and staff, know that we can monitor and do monitor their access through their work computer. Matter of fact, even, let me just do a reminder here, even your social media at home that you do at home, it is guided under policy for educators or people who work at school.
It's accountability.
Yes.
Total accountability.
It is accountability. You cannot say bad things about your workplace through social media and and not have a consequence if it is noticed by especially our parents. And our parents are watching.
They're
Our parents
they're
are watching
aware
us.
and they report.
As you know, and I'm fine with that because we want people who are good servers to our kids through all mediums. So, Ricardo, talk a little bit about what life looks like at Mesquite. Mesquite is a big animal. We've got 1,050 kids there.
Yeah.
How many computers do we have there?
Just in Mesquite,
Yes.
I'd want to say about 550 back computers, 200 Dell computers, 150 HPs. We have about half of 350 iPads. It's quite a few devices. I'd say normally a campus technician takes care of maybe 250 to 500 devices on his own, so it's quite a few. Kept pretty busy most of the time.
How do you manage?
Like Matt said, I mean, a lot of the things we use, a lot of the processes we use are automated. So I'm sure a lot of people assume I'm like manually install. Like if someone needs something installed on a computer, I'm going to manually install it on each, computer. But I just have to go to Active Directory or GPO or something like that, and it's a central location that I add a file that needs to be downloaded, and it downloads it to all the computers that need it. So.
Explain to them also how teachers communicate with you when they have a problem with their computers and the ticket system.
Yes, so we have a ticketing system where they just send an email out to me. I get it. I have a whole system that says, priority levels, what I have due, things that I have on hold and stuff like that. And it makes things a lot easier for me to manage on my own. Same thing for Nick and Plano.
Adding into that, it also helps us have a better system to communicate between our team. Oftentimes, like I know recently we had a teacher at Mesquite whose projector quit working. They turned it on and the bulb wasn't working anymore. So, we have a lot of those parts being stored in case something like that does happen. So the teacher sent the support email to Ricardo, and then he, tagged me on that. I was able to get on there and see the notes that he assigned to it to see, the projector model, check our inventory to see if we had a bulb available. I saw that bulb was at Plano, so I went over to the Plano campus and picked it up and delivered it to him. So it's
just
not only
fix that right before we came here.
Yeah, perfect. Good. Glad to hear that.
And in addition, Matt also uses another system with our register. So when we get new students, we are a savvy campus, and our students have a lot of software programs that they use. So the minute that we get a new student, Matt sends a email support ticket to our testing director, and then she of course gets that student enrolled in our testing, and she also gets them enrolled in all of our software programs so that they have access to that immediately in the classroom. So we really are almost a fully automated campus.
Are we to the point, I know that we were looking at it and actually had contracted with a software company to have one login for all the softwares?
Yeah, we're still working on that project. That's a very, with the number of different applications that we have and the volume of users that we have, that's a pretty big, robust project. So I actually did a conference call earlier this morning just talking about syncing our Windows domain with our Google domain, which we use Google G Suite for our email. But it's called a single sign-on software. We're using Onboard. That's the program name through a company called Encore. So it's a little bit confusing there, but we have a website that students can go to. It's portal.legacypca.com. That's publicly accessible, so you can go to it on your computer right now. And if you're a student or a teacher, you can log in with one username and one password, and it lets you access all of the different systems that we connect to. Like I said, we're still in progress in setting a lot of that up, but one thing that I know is important for us from an administration point of view is that we understand we are technology people. Teachers are educators. We want to give teachers more time to educate and not make them be IT professionals. And when you've got students having to log into 8 different websites, especially middle school students who are very forgetful, remembering all those passwords can be difficult. So we want to put these structures in place to make it not only easier on us, but easier on the classroom as well. And a single sign-on is a great solution for that, especially for our environment.
So thank you for thinking of the teachers in that way. We always need to try to keep our eye on the student, and we do that through the teacher. So thank you for that. Ricardo, talk a little bit about some of the things that you're seeing at the campus as far as the kids. Are the kids getting better at treating their computers and being nice to their computers?
So, I mean, this is my first job in education environment, but it was assumed that, having so many devices with so many kids, there's going to be some issues with damage and stuff like that. But I think a lot of that subsided once we started using Land School, the software we can manage and see what everybody's doing. I think just knowing that the teacher and the IT department is always, keeping in mind what you're doing when you're using the computer, that sort of stuff helps. The teachers have their own carts in each classroom, so each teacher is kind of responsible for their own cart and managing their own cart. And I think having procedures in place like that really help avoid any, physical damage to the computers or software or anything like that.
That's good to know. Now, we did buy new computers that are almost indestructible, although I think we've had one or two children want to try to take the indestructible out of the word. But I think for the most part, the investment in those computers has paid off as far as making sure that you're right, that the teacher's in charge of the computer cow, and the kids then have a new computer that's harder to, that is less breakable.
And for those out there that are listening, a cow is a computer. It's a computer cart on wheels, just because we in education use so many acronyms. I just wanted to put that out there because it sounds a little funny if somebody's not aware. We're just so used to using our acronyms.
You're right. I'm guilty of that.
We all
Something, I just thought of something while you were talking. You said something about the middle school brain. And we did a whole podcast on kids' brains. If you want to know more about the kids' brains and how they develop, go to the podcast with Miss Richardson, who has the Brain Development Center in Richardson, Texas. Matter of fact, she came on a podcast a few weeks ago. So what does the future look like as far as IT for, if not legacy, for school districts? I know you go to conferences and you go to work-related forums, seminars, webinars. What's our future in IT at school?
I think it's going to continue to grow, and not only grow in terms of the amount of technology that we're using, but in terms of the capabilities that we have with technology. Educational technology is a huge growing sector in commerce in the U.S. today. There's a lot of companies, and a lot of companies even based here in Dallas, that specially develop stuff for education. I think that we're going to continue to move more towards digital resources. If you look, most places are replacing libraries. Libraries are becoming a thing of the past because we have online digital libraries that have so much more content available than we could fit in one room. And I think that those types of, realizations are things that are really driving the direction in educational technology. I think we're going to a place where we have not only more digital distribution of resources, but we have more digital interaction in our classrooms. I can definitely see us maybe instead of having to always have a teacher, we'll always have a need for the teacher 100%. But when we're learning about, biology and science class, I think that we're going to see more digital communication between maybe bringing an actual somebody who's working in a biology lab through a video chat and projecting them into the classroom and getting more engagement with the students with these industry professionals. I see that happening very digitally, and I think that the learning management solutions like Echo and Google Classroom are allowing us to create the virtual classroom of tomorrow. I know online school outside of regular public education has become a growing thing. And I think that there's a lot that we're learning in public education from those platforms, things that we can take from it and implement in our brick and mortar buildings to help better our educational processes. And I think that's always going to be the key factor for technology in education, is that we want to use it to be more effective, to be better, not to create difficulties for people. So we always want to be on the cutting edge, not the bleeding edge.
Okay. Another room that's going away is the computer lab.
Yeah.
Because
Classrooms are computer labs now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I think we learned a lot.
Laptops.
Yeah.
And we learned a lot today. The three of us, as you're quite aware, our new high school is almost completed. And the amount of technology that now goes into our HVAC system, our lighting system, everything in our alarm system, there's so much of a savings because it is all automated, that all that savings goes back into the classroom and can be used into technology. It's just tremendous, the difference in what can be done. Like the gentleman with the HVAC explained to us, we don't have to charge you service calls because we can just troubleshoot right from the computer.
Just like he does.
Just like Matt does. So now all of your HVAC, your electrical problems, all of those things can be done, and we're not charged for those because they don't have to leave the office, and that money is left within the school district to take care of student needs, teacher needs, and resources. So it's a win-win situation when you're using technology to your advantage, which is these gentlemen, that is their focus.
So normally at the end of the show, because this is the Ask Dr. Be Good show, you get to ask me a question, but I'm going to ask you a question. And not one to necessarily answer, or you can answer now, but it's a reflection question. What would you put, what are 2 or 3 items you would put on your wish list for the budget next year?
Chromebooks.
Yeah,
Why?
definitely
Why-
Chromebooks.
I didn't expect you to go there.
From we're growing, which means we need more devices to maintain that one-to-one platform. And I think Chromebooks are making a huge breakout in education. From a teacher and an administration point of view, they're very easy to manage compared to some of the Windows devices that we have, which we have those structures in place. If we choose to go with Windows devices, we'll be able to maintain that. But there's a lot of licensing fees that we have to pay with Windows devices. I think the average cost of our Windows laptops in our district right now is about $550 to $600. With Chromebooks, they're very slimmed down. And so you can get a Chromebook for about $200. So we can get a much greater volume for the budget that we have. And it also, we are a Google ran operation. We have G Suite is our email server. We use Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides, Google Apps for a lot of our solutions. And Chromebooks really allow that to happen more intuitively. And when I was talking about earlier, with making sure that kids are using the technology appropriately, having those Chromebooks there's a lot less that they can do that we don't want them to do. Okay. It's a lot easier on that front.
Okay, I like the sound of that. So Ricardo, from a campus level, what would be on your wish list? And it doesn't have to be a something. It could be a practice. It could be.
The whole time I was thinking paperless. And that's probably something a lot of people roll their eyes at when the IT department says paperless. Like, that's not possible. We can't do that. But I feel like there's a lot of areas where we can go a little more paperless and save money and like utilize Chromebooks and laptops more often. I really agree with Chromebooks as well, just because 90% of the applications we use are just G Suite applications or online services, stuff like that. It's really rare that a certain class or anything like Ms. Carvajal's class is a digital arts class. They need a specific application called Blender that would require a normal Windows laptop, but otherwise, most of the time, we're just using G Suite, Google Drive, stuff like that. So,
Well, all right, gentlemen and Ms. Weaver, we have come to the end of our latest podcast. I thank you so much for speaking English as you told about our IT infrastructure that keeps us going here at Legacy. Couldn't do it without you, that's for sure. I mean, I hope you understand. I feel like you're suffering from severe job appreciation and security, severe job security, because you are very much needed, wanted, and appreciated. So thank you. Keep up. And Nick, we think the same of you as well. Nick is keeping things flowing as you guys come in and talk about what's going on to keep Legacy online. So thank you, and keep doing what you're doing, guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you for tuning in to the Ask Dr. Be Good show. For more information on Legacy Preparatory Charter Schools, visit our website, legacypca.com, or call 469-249-1099. And remember to like us on Facebook, where we stream live weekly Tuesdays at 3 p.m.